Little Marco will now be part of Donald Trump's administration. Let's get to how.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire
No, I will not.
in Gaza?
On the contrary.
Senator Rubio,
Are you filming it? I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes, and I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
The small man you just heard from in that video is Senator Marco Rubio, a neoconservative who has been tapped by Donald Trump to serve in his administration as Secretary of State. Disaster. So that means this neocon warhawk senator from Florida could have one of the most important foreign policy positions in the Trump White House. Rubio, who sits in both the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Foreign Relations Committee, is definitely a massive war hawk. Not only does he deny that Israel is carrying out the atrocities that they're carrying out right now in Gaza, he has also called for investigations into federal employees who are simply calling for a ceasefire in the region.
Yeah, so not only are they neocon war hawks, but they say whether you're progressive or MAGA or just a normal American, if you dare criticize Israel, we're taking away your freedom, okay? So you're gonna shut up and you're gonna give all of our money to Israel, and they're gonna start any war they like, we're gonna help them fight it, and we're gonna finance all of it. That's Marco Rubio's position. And if by the way, getting the Muslims and Palestinians and Arabs, etc., slaughtered, he conveniently goes, oh, it's not the people doing it, it's the people who are getting killed that's at fault. So it's okay, we can start any war we like, we'll just blame the Muslims we're murdering for the war that we committed against them.
Rubio isn't just thirsty for a tall glass of water during his public speeches. He's also very thirsty for war with Iran. So let's take a look at some of his posts on X from last month. In one of them, he writes, Iran regime wants to destroy Israel so they can become the dominant power in the Middle East. Appeasement will not change their behavior. Only threatening the survival of the regime through maximum pressure and direct and disproportionate measures has a chance to influence and alter their criminal activities. In other words, the US needs to get involved and the US needs to engage in conflict, in a hot war with Iran, which would be disastrous for the United States, certainly for our troops who would risk their lives for a war that they should not be fighting on behalf of Israel. Marco Rubio also wrote that Iranian regime was fully aware of the consequences of a direct attack on Israel and decided to do so anyway. Those demanding Israel show restraint should remember that they have the ability to inflict regime-threatening damage on Iran and have already shown restraint by not doing so. Great, so if Israel wants to do that, they should do that. Why should the US be dragged into that war? That's the question that everyone should be asking neoconservative war hawks like Marco Rubio. Seriously, okay? So let's take a look at the top donors for Marco Rubio, according to Open Secrets. Oh wow, would you look at that? Top contributor from 2019 through 2024, Pro-Israel America PAC. In fact, Trump once criticized Rubio for courting pro-Israel donations from the Adelsons, even though now he's taken in quite a bit of money from Miriam Adelson. But nonetheless, this is the same family that Trump has taken hundreds of millions of dollars from. This is what he had to say about the Adelsons funding Marco Rubio, though. This is a tweet from October of 2015. He said Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him, meaning Marco Rubio, into his perfect little puppet. I agree. And so far, based on the neocons that Donald Trump has tapped for his administration, seems like Miriam Adelson has molded him into a perfect little puppet.
What happened now, Donald? Okay, so Sheldon Adelson gave him 100 million in 2016, another 100 million in 2020. These are in campaign contributions to his pro-Trump PACs. And now in this cycle, Miriam Adelson gave Trump $137 million. So what did over $330 million buy the Adelson family? Well, read my book, Justice is Coming, to get a giant list of the goodies they got, including a Presidential Medal of Freedom for Miriam, okay? Let alone moving our embassy, giving them our foreign policy, etc. TYT.com/justice to get that. But for now in his second term, all of his first appointments are Team Miriam. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, Lee Stefanik at the UN. They are all on the record as saying Israel above all. Whatever Israel wants, Israel gets, and they're all neocons. And we showed you earlier Mike Waltz saying that we should have forever wars, multi-generational wars against Islamic extremism. That's code word for Israel's enemies, okay? So these guys are all Team Miriam. It's super obvious that Trump made a deal that he would put them in immediately to serve one of his top 3 donors.
Like, understand what these people represent. As our country is falling apart, as our people are struggling economically, unable to afford food, unable to afford shelter, you have clowns like Marco Rubio advocating for US soldiers to risk their lives in a war they should not be fighting on behalf of Israel. Okay, you have Marco Rubio advocating for a hot war with Iran, which would require the United States to spend hundreds of billions of dollars, if not more, in fighting that war. How exactly does this make sense? How exactly is this America first?
And so Trump does this all the time. One of our members pointed out, and they're totally right. I'll read it during the break. About Trump always runs as a populist, and I'm gonna go get him, and I'm gonna drain the swamp. I'm gonna be anti-war. And then when he gets in, what did he do the first time around? And I think MAGA will actually acknowledge this. Wall-to-wall neocons, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, Nikki Haley, all the people you guys hate. And he surrounded himself with that. Why? Why do you think he did that? You think he doesn't understand? No, because he promised his donors that he would put them above you. And now this time around, you said it wouldn't happen. You said it wouldn't happen. He'd put you first. Did he? For the moment being, no. Donald Trump put his donors first again, and it went exactly opposite of his promises. By the way, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a normal, standard, cheesy politician.
It does, it really does. By the way, as for other countries, Rubio has also advocated, or did advocate for the intervention into Libya. How did that work out? He criticized Trump for calling to withdraw from Syria and Afghanistan in 2019. And he also pushed Trump to implement harsh sanctions against Venezuela that same year. And by the way, those harsh sanctions led to people fleeing Venezuela and coming here to the United States.
Record immigration, the #1 group that came into the country was from Venezuela.
Yeah, nailed it, nailed it. Now, let's have a little bit of fun. Rubio and Trump are on good terms now, obviously, but the two were not friends back during the Republican primary in 2016. They traded some pretty brutal jabs. Here's a reminder.
During that time, Trump once tweeted, quote, "Marco Rubio is a total lightweight who I wouldn't hire to run one of my smaller companies." I think we have this, we can put it up on the screen. "A highly overrated politician." And then Marco Rubio, once on stage, went on a sort of rant about Donald Trump's fingers. Listen.
Which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them.
And then that led to the back and forth, literally on the debate stage between Donald Trump and Marco Rubio. Yeah, where
Trump said, "But believe me, I've got no problems down there. Believe me." If you have to assure us, I don't know. Anyways, but look, here I'll give Donald Trump some credit. Fairest show in America.
Really?
One thing he's really good at is letting bygones be bygones.
Is he?
So look, it might be partly to help his donors, and if you get under his skin, he'll hunt you down to the end of the earth. But the minute you start kissing his ass, he's like, "I'm good with it. Lindsey Graham said the worst things, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, they all said the worst things about him. The minute they turn around and start polishing his shoes, he's like, bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
You're now welcome back in. And there's some, I mean, look, that's not such a bad trait.
Okay, fine. And JD Vance is another example. So yeah, it's true. I'm hoping that he secretly decided to pick Marco Rubio so he can find a way to like publicly humiliate him one last time.
Oh no, that's just gratis. He'll throw that in. Will that happen
eventually?
Oh, of course that will. And eventually.
I'm looking forward to
But
that.
I don't know that it's going to be over this. It might be over something else entirely. But eventually, very disappointed with my Secretary of State. Happens almost every time with every person. Okay, depending on what happens. Anyway, last thing though, going back to Anna's point, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So far, every pick of Donald Trump in foreign policy is saying, no, we should spend more money abroad. And they all say the same thing. No, not on Ukraine, because they know how Trump is so touchy about Ukraine and MAGA's touchy about Ukraine. They're like, fine. The one place we won't do war is Ukraine, and Russia can just keep a big chunk of it and that'll solve the issue. But we want war everywhere else, and especially in the Middle East. And we want you to take hard-earned money that you could barely afford and send over to Israel that has universal health care that you don't have, paid family leave that you don't have, so that you could start wars on their behalf. So not to defend themselves, but to take more land, as right now their cabinet ministers are celebrating, saying they're going to annex the West Bank and talk of taking northern Gaza. So we're paying for their land acquisition?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, look, MAGA said they were totally against it. Let's find out if they meant it. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.